Hello and welcome to Blockbuster review on Prudent Media. My name is Sachin Chatte and on this show we take a look at the latest releases. Today we will take a look at the much awaited Michael Jackson biopic called Michael. There's this one moment in Michael that really stuck with me. Jafar Jackson, playing Michael Jackson, walks out of his massive home after a tense confrontation with his father, Joseph Jackson, played by Colman Domingo. He gets into a car, the gates open, and suddenly there are thousands of fans screaming his name. He just gives a small wave, puts on those iconic glasses, and just like that, the switch flips. Whatever he's dealing with privately is completely invisible to the outside world. It's a powerful moment and honestly one of the film's best. It really captures what it must feel like to live that kind of a double life. Now the problem is, moments like that are pretty rare in this film. Directed by Antoine Fuqua, it feels less like a true biopic and more like a tribute piece. And look, as someone who grew up listening to Michael Jackson, I don't mind a film that shows him in a positive light. You could make a great movie just around his music and leave out the messy personal stuff. That's a valid creative choice. But the issue here isn't that it's too kind to him. It's that the film's uneven. The pacing is all over the place and some of the creative decisions are just confusing. Parts of it really work, but overall it kind of drifts along without a clear direction, like it doesn't know how to wrap up things. And to be fair, the production did run into legal issues which reportedly led to scenes being cut and reshot, so that might explain why it feels a bit disjointed. Then there are some really odd choices. When it comes to music, how does Human Nature get more screen time than Thriller? The entire Bad album is basically reduced to just one single song. And if you're watching this in an Indian theatre with an intermission, Thriller hasn't even shown up by the time the lights come on. Now that's quite wild, I must say. When you think of Michael Jackson, you think of the music, the dancing, and the sheer scale of his fame. And yes, the controversies later in his life, which the film avoids completely. But as an artist, he was truly one of a kind. There's absolutely no two ways about that. And to the film's credit, bringing his music to life on screen is genuinely exciting. Fans, and there are millions of them across the globe, will definitely feel that. And Jafar Jackson really commits to the role. The voice, the expressions, the dance moves, he gets incredibly close to capturing his uncle. Then there are some noticeable omissions. Janet Jackson isn't in the film at all, which is rather surprising, and Elizabeth Taylor, one of his closest friends, is missing too. And his collaborations outside the family barely get explored. The film actually starts quite strong. You hear Wannabe starting something over the opening logos, and we are introduced to a young Michael played by Giuliano Vivaldi alongside the Jackson 5. Honestly, it feels like they should have been called Jackson 6 because of their father, who is such a dominant presence. He's controlling, harsh, and in one scene, he even beats Michael with his belt. Meanwhile, the mother, played by Nia Long, brings warmth but doesn't have much power in that dynamic. We also see glimpses of Michael's personality, his love for animals, his fascination for Peter Pan, and the early ideas that would eventually become Neverland. Even as he becomes a global superstar, there is this underlying loneliness, and real connection always seems just out of reach. Quincy Jones, the famous producer, shows up briefly during the early solo years, which feels like a missed opportunity. Their collaborations shaped some of the greatest albums ever, Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and the film barely scratches the surface there. Eddie Van Halen gets a quick mention for Beat It, and we do see the making of that video, which is a nice touch. But then the film rushes through major moments, jumping to the Victory Tour, straight to the Bad concert, and then suddenly we get a title card saying his story continues, which means there will be a sequel. And honestly, I hope it does. Just maybe next time with a bit more depth, a bit more honesty, and a clearer sense of what story it actually wants to tell. I'm going to go with 3 out of 5 stars for Michael. If you're a Michael Jackson fan, you will want to watch it, but you might come out feeling just a little bit disappointed. Well, that's what I thought of Michael that was released this week. Do let us know what you think, and I'll be back with you next week with more movie reviews. Till then, keep watching Prudent Media.